So we're going to start off with his passive because it's got some layers to it. The first part is that he has 2 basic attack ranges. If you attack from this inner circle, it's only 1 basic attack. From the outer circle, 2 basic attacks. Very important. Next part is when you cast a skill and then basic attack after, you start making spear weaving stacks. You can see that at the bottom here. And so these double basic attacks that you do will help you generate those even faster. And the next part is his cooldown of his QW and E are shared. So you see I'll cast one and they all start ticking down, right? They're all shared. Next, his skills can be used up to 3 times and in any order. So that could be like Q, 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 W, E. And then the third use of one of these skills is known as a final cast. And final casts do different effects depending on the skill you use. But all of them will end with you getting a shield and lowering the cooldowns of your abilities some more, depending on how many stacks you have built up. So to talk about his skills, his Q makes him dash forward, dealing damage in a circle. The final cast adds a knockup and some true damage. Knockup duration and the true damage will go up with your stacks. The W is he stabs out with the spear. The final cast will root everybody hit, and then he dashes to the first target hit. The root duration goes up with your stacks. And the E is he swings out while stepping backwards and dealing damage. And during this time you're casting this, he can't be hit by auto attacks. He dodges them. And every time you do dodge an auto attack with this, you get a stack of spear weaving. The final cast version of this, it only goes off if you hit somebody with it. So what it does is it lowers the shared cooldowns by an extra second, and it grants you Omni Siphon, which you can see the effect down here with the circle. Also, these moves can take you over walls, the Q3, the E3, and his final cast of W can pull you over walls if you landed on someone. Felix's R has him begin charging at power, instantly getting 4 stacks of spear weaving, and it sets his QWE to their final cast versions, even if they were on cooldown before that. On release, he'll dash forward in the direction, stabbing with the spear and dealing some damage, depending on the duration you charged it. And if you charged it like fully, every enemy you hit will get stunned. Felix has a brief moment of what we call CC immunity, like crowd control immunity, so you can't be stunned or whatever. But it's right before you charge forward, not during the charge, so it's pretty difficult to pull it off. And he's a spear character, so his D skill is spear skill. All that does is he just stabs out, does damage, and slows someone. But if that person is close enough to you, they'll also get pushed back and take extra damage. So let's just talk about how you can actually use these skills in a real match. The most important skills are going to be his Q and his E. The Q is good for the damage, it helps catch up to people. The Q3 with your stacks is huge for you and your teammates. You can make combos, you can save your teammates if they're in danger. And when you combine it with the ult, resetting it, you can have cool knock-up combos like do your Q3, do your ult, do your Q3 again. And the E is really important, it's your only defensive tool. If the enemy has ranged basic attackers, this can help you get away from them safely or close the distance to them safely while building up stats. And against melee characters, your E is your best friend because it trivializes a lot of matchups for you if you can time it well. Besides just dodging auto attacks, if you aim your E right, you can dodge but still be in range to do the double basic attacks while also hitting them with the E at the same time. It'll take a bit to get used to. And the Omni Siphon that you get from E3, as well as that extra cooldown decrease, can be critical to surviving really clutch battles. The W is a move you might not use as much, but it's still really strong. Like, it's a good poke, but when you're chasing down enemies like stragglers, W3 can just secure the kill. Good, really good. And W is really like Felix's only thing he can use to check bushes. And when you're checking bushes with his W, you'll actually hear a different sound effect when you hit somebody, so pay attention to that. His R is amazing. It has a variety of ways it can be used. It dashes you pretty far, so it can help you storm past the enemy front lines to the back, similar to what using your blink would let you. It gives you 4 stacks of security instantly, so if you had, say, like already made 6 and you press R, you would just have 10, which means that if you did Q3, you could potentially knock up a full team. Very strong. And having all those built up stacks to 10 means that whatever you end up pressing, the CW and E are guaranteed to be back up, especially if you did G3. But sometimes the right thing to do might be to ult away from the enemy, because Felix is not a tanky character. He goes in, he does his damage, and he's more of like disruption of a frontliner, because the enemy has to put their focus on him. So sometimes you'll find yourself using the R to move away from them, get out of their range, or pull their focus away from your own team. And it's not always worth it to charge your R to the full duration, because most of the time you're using it just to get your reset or to attack on some extra damage. Always going for the stun is probably a bit troll. But if you see that the enemy's like focused on someone else or one of your teammates or something, and you feel like you could get a charged R off, go for it. And Spear skill seems like it's simple, but it's actually like the main part of your combos. So, and just incredibly useful as utility. If an enemy is about to jump on you or an ally, you can use it to push them away, or you can use it with your Q3 as a combo. So what that is you would build up your stacks of spear weaving, and then you would use your Q3, they're knocked up into the air, and before they land on the ground, you can still hit them with these skills, so they'll land with a massive slow on them. And if it's like an enemy jumping on top of one of your allies, you can do that same thing and push the enemy away. Or you could do that same thing jumping into the enemy, and whoever like their most valuable target is, you can knock them up and then push them towards your team. And now they're in a bad position where they're like, oh, I need to use all of my moves to escape, or I'm just dead. And then also consider mixing it into like your basic attack combo sometimes. Like do your basic attacks, speed skill, more basic attacks. Because if they are like way too close to you, that pushing them back might actually just set you up to be in your double basic attack range. But anyways, when the fights really are starting and we're killing each other out, I like to do like 1 Q forward, so I can at least start generating stats. And I just poke at the enemy with a few basic attacks. Maybe I'll walk back a bit, and I'm thinking, oh, what is this gonna end with? Am I gonna end up diving in with Q3? Are they running away? Maybe I should do W3 to catch back up, or oh, they're pressuring us pretty hard. Let me do my E backwards and just disengage, and we'll fill up the fight a bit more. Because Felix doesn't really want to take a lot of free damage. You want to have as much health as possible so that when you do go in and go crazy, you can survive for long enough. But when I want to be super aggressive on somebody, I'll do the same thing and move forward with Q, but then I'll make an aggressive blink towards the priority target so that the enemy team instantly is like, oh, this guy is diving in on us. We need to do something about this. And now I've taken a lot of pressure off of my own teammates. So for loadouts, this is just like really quick. Felix is trying to build damage. In the past, Tank Felix was a thing, not really anymore. If you want some good builds, go to dac.gg, or in the actual game client, go to search for builds and filter for the highest win rate builds. That's what I like to do. I'm not going to talk about what route to go and what zones to go to, because as seasons come and go, items get moved around and like places you go change, but roughly the stats you're looking for from items is always going to be the same thing. So just look at what builds are winning And once you're comfortable enough, maybe you can make your own builds, but just start off simple. For the augments, I normally always see, or I would say you would always see Adrenaline, which is just giving you a ton of attack speed, or Diamond Shard, which is after you hard CC somebody, which is like a stun, a roots, pushing them away, or a knock-up, which is what Felix has. You'll pop it and you'll just get a bunch of defense, like you'll be a lot tankier for a bit. I prefer that because when I'm playing Felix, I'm not trying to be the tank, but I at least want to survive for a while. I don't want to just die instantly. But Adrenaline is still really good. It's the most common one. So you can try out what feels good, experiment around. I don't think there's really a wrong option you could go. And then for tactical skills, genuinely Blink is like the only choice on Felix, because Blink into Q3, Blink into W3, it's if you pick anything else, you're missing out on a lot of extra mobility.